everybody, it is me again, Declan. This is the video series that nobody has asked for, but here we are anyway. Going to journal the road to Dublin Marathon once more. I think at the moment we're 15 weeks out from Dublin. If anybody did watch the last series or sort of run of videos, they will hear that at that time I went into sort of a marathon training block in no worse shape possible, coming off a bit of an injury. Well, this training block here, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling very good for myself. So I thought, do you know what? Why not just chronicle the training? I maybe won't do it week by week, but maybe every couple of weeks, and just let you know what training I've done, what progress I've made, what sessions I'm doing, how they've went, how I feel, and yeah, let's see if we can get closer to that PB. So my marathon PB time sits from 2019 in Dublin, where I ran 3:24, I do believe it was. Maybe I was slightly underneath that there. I think it was 3:24. So if I can get myself anywhere close to that there, that's the goal of this block. Because I'm now 4 years older. I have created a plan. The plan is, it was a 19-week training plan, or 20-week plan perhaps. And yeah, this time what I've done is focused very, very much on volume. Increasing the amount of running and keeping it a little bit easier paced rather than hard paced stuff. I think now that I'm a tad older, it's just a little bit more difficult to recover from the harder runs. So what I'm going to try this time around to say is just adding that little bit more volume. So I'll go through my first few weeks of the plan, let you know what sessions I've done and what progress has been made. And yeah, as I say, then over the next few weeks and months, we will see how that goes. So we started off this training block back in the middle of June. So yeah, we're talking 5 weeks into the plan at the moment. And the first couple of runs were just fairly easy runs. But we started off with some midweek long runs, 12 miles midweek, followed by a 13-mile long run at the weekend. And yeah, that was quite difficult in terms of managing it time-wise, getting the bigger miles in during the week. But I think I just have to be a little bit more careful with how I do that there, in terms of perhaps getting out of bed a little bit earlier. But I've been sort of lucky that I've been able to work around it in terms of starting work earlier, finishing work later, doing a few sort of evenings and things like that there to get the times in. So the first run started off with a nice 3-mile easy run, and it was sort of 9-minute mile pace. I say the goal is to hit 3:25. That's what I've programmed in. So the training paces for me should sort of fit in and around that there. And if we see massive improvements, we'll adjust that goal. Or if we see sort of regressions, we can adjust the goal downwards as well if need be. So that works out at a marathon pace of 7:49. Which sounds quite scary whenever you think about it like that there, you know, but it should be doable based on some of the sessions that I've done so far. My easy paced runs, I'm aiming for them at around sort of 9 to maybe 9:50 pace. But for me, easy is an effort more than a pace at times. So some days that easy effort will be, you know, sub 9-minute miles. Other days it'll be over that 10-minute mile pace. I don't let my ego control the pace whenever it comes to easy. Lactate threshold, tempo threshold sort of pace, we're looking at 7:07 to 7:20, in and around that there. Half marathon pace, 7:26-ish. And the sort of long runs we're aiming at around 8:36 to about 9:20. So very, very precise figures there, but we don't get hung up on it sort of by, well, I don't get hung up on it too much by the mere seconds and things like that, but as long as we're close to the ballpark figure of it. So yeah, that first week I done, it was like, how many miles did I record? I recorded 39 miles in total. And yeah, it was a good solid week. Couple of big long runs in there. Plus, I also done a strength and conditioning session there too. It was very, very warm here over in Northern Ireland at that point in time too. But yeah, the long runs, aiming at around 8:22. Midweek easy run was 9:04. And then I did a little bit of a session down at the track with 3 miles at half marathon pace, and I came at 7:36, which was slightly sort of in that mid-range of where I want to be. But yeah, really good, really good. So 39 miles total in that week. Week 2, we bumped up the miles quite a bit. We went up to 47 miles. And yeah, the midweek long run, 13 miles. I did a mountain run. I did another session down at the track with some strides. And then at the weekend, I did a 10-mile long run. Pacing wise, the easy runs were done sort of around that 9:09, 9:20 pace. The half marathon sort of track session was done at 7:33. So a slight wee bit of improvement with regards to that there as well. I also competed in the Hard as Oak obstacle course run there with a fab group of runners from Virtual Run NI. Real good fun that day, but ridiculously sore in the body because you're climbing over things, under things, through rivers, jumping off cliffs, etc. But a real good fun day out. So yeah, 47 miles done that week. Now pretty much bang on track where I wanted to be. The following week, the plan had expected me to do 54 miles and I did 53.6, so I came in pretty decently there. I did a track session again, down at the track, 4 miles, bookended by a couple of easy runs either side of it, but 4 miles at half marathon pace, and again I came in at 7:36 effort, which was okay, felt, I'm going to say fairly comfortable, but it should do. Midweek long run, 11 miles, done a 10k race that Bob and Bert's up at the North Coast, 46 minutes and 3 seconds. I'd done this race originally back, I think it was 2020 or perhaps 2021, and I was, about 10 seconds off recording a course PB there, so that was pretty good considering the conditions were absolutely horrible. Then at the weekend, I'd done a long run, and this is the first, I'm going to say proper long run. It was a 15-mile long run with 8 miles at marathon goal pace. I came in, it was slightly slower than what the goal pace was, so I sort of was aiming for 7:50s, but I came in at 7:57 for that there. But I did do the 15 miles. I think if I remember correctly, I'd done that one with regards to, I think it was the first 3 miles fairly easy. Then I did the 8 miles at marathon pace, and then I finished up with 4 miles easy at the end of it. But yeah, another solid week training. 53.6 miles on the plan, or in the bank. So yeah, very good. And excuse while I'm looking over this direction and over this direction here, but I forget the camera here. I'm looking at a spreadsheet. The camera's here in front of me, and then I've got my phone over here, which is giving me the screen of what the camera's actually recording and looking at. The following week was a recovery week, so I brought the miles slightly down. Although in the plan, I had expected to do 55 miles this week, I only did 50 or 49 and a half. And there was a couple of wee variations within this here. But it was actually a really good week for me in terms of seeing where I'm at. Started the week off with rest day on a Monday, then I did some strides on the Tuesday. Down at, wherever did I do the strides at? I just did a nice wee run, 7 mile easy run, then followed up with 10 by 100 meter strides with 100 meter recovery. Strides was pretty fast, sort of, for me personally, some sort of 5 minute mile pace, all fairly good. A couple of recovery runs, general easy runs, really keeping the pace fairly consistent here, sort of 8:10, 8:36. The recovery runs were done at 9:14 and 9:15, which led me then to the Great Rossa Run. So this is a half marathon held over in Arbo, 9th running of it, I think. Next year's the 10th anniversary. Had no real expectations. I sort of thought personally I would go out and treat this as a marathon paced run, and see how that sort of felt. I think I was planning to perhaps do sort of 16 miles that day. That's what I had planned. But yeah, I ended up doing right. I'll go do this here, 13-mile run, do it at marathon pace and see how it goes. And I went out slightly faster than marathon pace, but held it for as long as I could. And I actually came across the line in 1:37:21, which was my official time, which was an average pace of 7 minutes and 26 seconds. According to Strava, that was 14 seconds slower than I was in 2019. So I'm really, really happy with that there. 2019 was the year to me personally that I probably felt the fittest I've ever felt. And here I am 4 years later, recording at the same time of the year, at the same event, under similar conditions, recording times that are, within seconds of it. So it shows that the fitness is probably where I was in 2019. So I'm really, really happy with that there, and it bodes well for the next training block. Couple of mistakes that I've made in the past couple of training blocks that I'm adamant I'm not going to make this time round, and that's running the marathon distance in the training block. I love running marathons. I love running the distance, and there's so many good local events on. The low key events from the likes of We Run Wild, East Antrim, Run Armagh, and I love supporting those guys. And sometimes I see in my plan 20-mile long run, and I'll justify it to myself and say, you know what, I'll just go 20-mile long run with a 6-mile cool down. But realistically, I know that has impacted the training block. It's impacted the training the following week. It's impacted the long-term plan and everything like that. So I'm going to be really, really disciplined this training block and just make sure if it says 20, do the 20. No marathons in the middle of it. So that's one of the big changes I'm going to make. And see how it helps me. But yeah, really good week that week. I say that 1:37:21, absolutely delighted with that there. And I followed it up that night, and I went for a wee walk up the mountain with the dog. Got caught up in a thunderstorm, so I tried to outrun the thunder and ran down the mountain. The legs probably didn't want to do that there. Here's me talking about trying to be sensible and running down the mountain in the thunder, but I was trying to get back to the car as quickly as I could with regards to not getting absolutely soaked and hit by lightning. But yeah, good solid week there. That brought me up, I say it was 50 miles out of the 55. I have a lovely wee spreadsheet, and it shows here that I was expected to do 195 miles at that point, and I've done 193 in total in the training block. So that was within 4 weeks, averaging just under 50 miles a week. So real good start to the training in terms of volume. And I say volume's the big thing here, which we're going to see in the next week, which was the most recent week, last week. Last week, the 10th of the week commenced on the 10th of July. Monday, I started off with a rest day, didn't do anything. Tuesday, I was off work, so I actually done my long run on the Tuesday. I done the long run of 16 miles on Tuesday, because I had lots of time to do it. Fantastic. It was actually a real nice day to run. A little bit windy, a little bit wet, but not too warm. I set myself this challenge. It was one of these challenges I sort of had toyed about with in the lockdowns. I never got a chance to do it, or I just didn't do it. But this time I thought, I was running out of the road and I had a speed sign, and I thought to myself, I wonder how much, and then I started calculating in my head, how much could I run between the speed limits in Microfelt, the town that I live in. So the goal was to at this point, start at one of the speed limits, head back into the town and take every left-hand turn until you hit a speed limit sign, come back in yourself and go left again. Anybody who follows me in Strava will be able to see it was very, very sort of out and back and all the rest of it. There was a couple of wee sections there where you're on out a road and you're coming close to the speed limit and you think, okay, I've sort of got a wee loop here, but you're actually hitting the speed limit here, and the next one's here, so you're having to come back around yourself the whole way around to get there. Excuse the noise in the background there, because my dogs have decided to argue, as always, whenever I start talking. But yeah, that was a good run, and I actually worked out at 16 miles exactly. Well, I say exactly, I'm lying to you. It was 16.02 miles. Yeah, it was a nice wee training run and something very, very different. Following day, 12th of July, there's a local mountain race on, which I've done a couple of times in the past. And I thought, you know what, I'll go up and give it a wee rattle and see where I am. And considering the legs were stupidly tired from the 16 miles, I thought, right, we'll just go out and run this here. The PB the year before was 32 minutes or something. I thought, okay, if I can get anywhere close to that there, I'd be really, really happy. I ended up knocking 2 minutes off my time. I came in 30, what was it? It says it here on the spreadsheet. Yeah, it was 30 minutes and 9 seconds. So it was 9 seconds off the sub 30, but to knock a couple of minutes off the time. 850 odd feet of elevation. So it's called Re and Cairn, or Run and Cairn, or Run the Cairn. So it's a wee local mountain, Cairn Tahar. It's 5k route. You start off in the road, you head up towards the mountain track, you turn left and you follow like a stone path all the way up to the top of the mountain, or just before the top. And then there's a slight out and back section before you're coming down through the actual mountainside, through the marshes and mud. And because it had been raining most of the week before, it was very, very wet and sludgy underfoot. But great fun, great event, and fantastic to be able to compete in it and be fit enough to run it and run PBs, which I'm very appreciative of. The next day, what did I do? I did an 11-mile easy run. I say volume. Then a recovery 4 miles on the Friday. Saturday was one of those days where I was sort of put off this run for most of the day. I had been working the day before, the morning of it. I got a flat tire, actually blew the wheel off it. You know, everything that could sort of happen on a day. And I just sort of like, the day kept creeping away from me. And it was like nearly 3:30, and I very rarely run on a Saturday beyond sort of midday. And I thought, right, I'm just going to have to do this. You know, I haven't missed a plan I haven't missed a session in the plan yet. So let's get this done. So I had done an alternative miles session. Alternative miles is probably one of my favorite sessions to do. You move from easy, fast, easy, fast, easy, fast, you know, and it's that real change of pace. The easy pace was sort of started off at about 8:10s, 8:20s and around that. And then the faster paces, I was aiming for that sort of half marathon pace and around the 7:07s. And I think if I remember correctly off my Strava, it was like 7:20 for the first one. Then it was like 7:08, 7:06, 7:10, I think, for the 4th mile. And I think the last one I did was 6:40 or something like that there. You know, it was nice to push out the pace on the last of it. So it actually turned out to be a really good, hard session. And I rewarded myself, you know, with a lovely big pizza and garlic bread afterwards. So it's maybe I should do a little bit more running on a Saturday afternoon, because you get to eat your dinner straight after. And then on Sunday past, it was a long run again, 13 miles. Which was done at around 8:45 pace. So looking at the paces of that week, you know, 16 miles was done at 8:34, the 11 miles was done at 9:08 pace, the 13 miles was 8:47. The recovery runs were done at 10-minute mile pace on average, and the alternative miles, I say on average, it actually worked out at 7:49, which is my marathon pace. But the faster runs, they actually averaged 7:04. So really happy with that there. Expected to do 58 miles that week. Ended up doing 61, just with a bit of cool down and recovery on the mountain as well. So just under 100k, which is a big training week. And I don't think personally I've ever done a bigger training week in a marathon training block without having a race in the middle of it, because I've done ultras and I've ran the distance more than that there before, but I don't think I've ever trained more than 100k. So that's really where we're at with it. So that brought me sort of bang back up onto average. The plan had expected me to do 253 miles at that point, and the total miles that I've done is 253.89, running for 38 hours and 10 minutes over a 5-week block already. So yeah, that is where we're at. So the first 5 weeks summed up in what, 19 minutes there, I hope. But yeah, really, really good. Few other changes that I have made personally is I've started doing strength work. I'm not going to say I do 3 or 4 sessions a week. I do 1 session a week, and it's very, very basic strength work. I also have added in doing a row twice a week. So I do an endurance row on a Monday for 5,000 meters, and then I do an either interval session or a 2K time trial. And again, that's more just for the upper body and to see if I can get a little bit more strength into that there and also help the core too. And probably the biggest change that I've made from 4 years ago is I've really cleaned up my diet. It was one of the things, I noticed this earlier this year where I had been taking part in a run challenge where I was running or attempted to run every day for 100 days. I think I made it to day 60 or something like that there, and then life just got in the way and I couldn't finish it out. But I ended up putting weight on. I actually put on about maybe 8 or 9 pounds in that period of time. And looking at the scales, I was sitting at over 11 stone again, which is not a place that I'm comfortable with. It doesn't feel comfortable when I'm running at that weight either. And I know we shouldn't get too hung up on weight and race weight and things like that there. But I know myself personally that, you know, it's harder to carry that amount of weight out whenever I'm doing endurance runs. So I re-downloaded my Fitness Pal and looked at my macros again. Looked at what I had been eating, and you know, previously a lot of my macros had been very, very much sort of carb based, and there was a lack of proteins. I'm not going to say a lack of proteins, but there was less proteins and less fats, and it was very, very carb heavy. But perhaps that was making me overeat. It wasn't leaving me satiated enough, feeling full enough, and I was sort of eating more and more carbs in to probably get that feeling of fullness. So I re-looked at the what was taking in, and sort of I have readjusted the macros. So I'm back down to about 50% carbs, 30% fats, and 20% proteins, which I think, you know, is very, very different from what I was doing, which was about 70% carbs and 15% of both of the others, the fats and the proteins. I also drastically reduced the calorie intake for the first couple of weeks. Working on a net carb intake of about 16 to 1700 calories, being very disciplined with the meals, so that has allowed me to actually drop off. So whenever I first started recording the weight back at the beginning of June, I was sitting at about 10 stone 8, 10 stone 9, and as of last weekend, just after the long run, which I think was on the 16th, I was down to 9 stone 11. So really, really happy with that there. And, you know, it felt very comfortable, and it's, you know, making me feel lighter on my feet. It's allowing easier runs to feel easy, but it's also allowing faster runs to feel that a little bit faster too, okay? And that's a weight I'm comfortable with. I don't want to drop much further than that there. So the calorie intake is going to go back right up to the net sort of calories in and calories out to maintain that weight, and I'll continue using my Fitness Pal with regards to keeping a track of that. So yeah, big change with regards to that there. So guys, look, thank you if you've made it this far into the video. I tend to just sort of put these videos out. Don't edit them, don't watch them back, just upload them, and then perhaps some people will get some advice, some hints, some tips from it. If you do have any questions about your own training or what I'm doing, you know, do drop me a comment below and let me know. I say probably do this every couple of weeks, just as we check in. And yeah, let you know how the training going, and maybe to get some footage out and about as well. All right, guys. I say thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.